I don't know much about these things, but it occurs to me that the oxygen mask not only prevented me seeing the man's face, but also hearing his voice. Perhaps a foreign accent. Is he by any chance your current high-risk house guest?
Colombian. Prime stuff. The CIA flies it in once a week.
I think this is what they call stonewalling, Mrs. Fletcher. I think you must have hit it right on the nose.
Well, I wouldn't have expected less. From a mystery writer who outwitted a KGB agent and helped a pair of defecting Russian ballet dancers.
You have a file on me.
Maiden name McGill. One marriage to Frank Fletcher, deceased. No children. Doesn't drive. Travels extensively.
Please, stop. I see no reason to continue this detailed discussion of my personal life.
You opened yourself up for that when you showed up on our doorstep, Mrs. Fletcher. We like to know who we're dealing with. And if you're thinking of turning this into a bestseller, forget it.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 16 of the Cabot Cove Confab. This is Sean.
And Steve.
And today we're going to talk about Season 4's Murder Through the Looking Glass, which has nothing to do with Alice, but just as confusing as the actual book. But first, pre-show banter. Do you have anything
Pre-show
to say?
banter, yes.
Okay, do you have anything to say? Do you have
Yes,
any
well,
banter?
I have something to banter about. So, for some reason or another, I was watching a video on YouTube, and they were discussing Police Squad, which is the Leslie Nielsen vehicle. It was a series or TV show on CBS. I don't know what year, but I'd never watched it. I was familiar with Leslie Nielsen from Airplane and then the Naked Gun movies, which were based off this TV show. And I always kind of enjoyed that humor. It's a little silly, but I always liked it. So I decided to buy the Blu-ray box set that is for Police Squad. So I've been watching episodes from that this weekend, besides tonight's episode of Murder, She Wrote. And guess how many discs are in the box set?
I'm going to say 2. Because that was a short-lived TV series, wasn't it?
Right. Yep. Only one disc.
Oh, shit. Wow.
It's a single disc box set, but they only made 6 episodes.
Wow! Really?
Yeah,
like half an hour each?
Yeah, and I think, they're like 25 minutes each. Uh-huh. And you know what? They're so fun. I know humor is subjective, so you may not be your cup of tea, but I found them so entertaining. It doesn't feel like 25 minutes. It feels like 15 when watching them. It's like it's over already, and it's entertaining because it's got that kind of detective that film noir kind of feel to it, cop show, and because Leslie Nielsen is doing the narration, and everything's so silly. It's a play on words. It's like Abbott Costello's Who's On First. They play with names. It confuses Detective Drebin. At the very beginning, they always say, special guest star Lauren Green. Well, then Lauren Green will die in the first 5 seconds, and he's not really in the episode at all. But he appears at the very beginning and ends up getting shot and dies. And so I'm starting to notice every episode will have a special guest star, but the guest star's not really in it. And they also have the announcer, not Drebin's voiceover, but then there will be a title of the show, and the announcer will say the wrong title. So it might be what was one of the titles, like Ring of Fear, and he might say, in tonight's episode, a dangerous case or something like that instead of Ring of Fire or whatever. But it's stuff like that. It's just so silly. and it's a lot of sight gags. It's a lot of, but it's played serious. It's not.
Yeah,
you know,
I know
reality,
exactly what you're talking about. Yeah.
It's great, and I'm having a lot of fun. I watched the first 3 episodes, and I watched Substantial Gift. Ring of Fear, that was the name of it, and The Butler did it. And guess who did it?
The Butler.
In that episode, The Butler. Yeah. And it's so funny because there's a shootout with The Butler because there's a kidnapping, and he's wearing like one of those Lone Ranger masks that you see at around Halloween. Like, why would he be walking out in public wearing a mask? It's so obvious it's the Butler.
See,
it's just stupid stuff like that.
I actually will look into this because I'd like to see those because when the movie The Naked Gun came out, they actually aired them on TV in primetime, and I remember watching a couple of them, and I remember enjoying them. I was a little kid at the time, but I will look into that because that kind of humor is right up my alley. It's like stupid dad jokes, you know. Mm-hmm. It just look, you know. It's
well, if I ever come visit you again, I'll make sure to bring it with me.
Okay, yeah. When you visit in 2 years, which you never come and see me, I'm always talking to Steve. It's like, oh, you never come to see me. I could be over here dying. I'm like the Jewish mama. You don't want to come visit me? I've got chicken.
I'll visit you on your deathbed. Yeah,
whatever. Yeah,
I'll pour
70
I'll pour a 40 over your grave when you die. So.
Oh my god!
What was the episode we were watching where so there was like a bunch of Irish? It was at somebody's funeral. It was a Murder, She Wrote episode, and it was a bunch of Irish guys just drinking and singing. I kind of imagine that's what yours will be like.
That is Hannigan's Wake, and trust me, no one will be drinking at my wake other than
I will.
Tom and my cousin. Yeah, no, go ahead and drink. Okay. God almighty. You know, people are like, you know, the way you talk about your mom and dad, I envision them, they're real prudes. Like they're, you know, no, they're not.
No way.
No, they're not. They're not. They're prudes, but they're just, you know, it's not like they don't like, oh, I hate drinking. They're not like that. They're just like, they think they know everything, but they don't. Anyway.
No, your mom took you to see like rated R movies when you were like 5 or something.
No.
Hey, remember what you told me?
No,
she took you to go see.
She took me to see The Breakfast Club before I was old enough to see.
No, there were some rated R films you were telling me, some horror films like Alien.
Yeah. My dad would show me those movies like Invasion of the Body Snatchers, Alien, Poltergeist. Fuck. Like, who shows their kid Poltergeist in 1983? Like, that's like, you know, does the it's the clown and the guy tearing off. For me, it was the guy tearing off his face. Nobody thought the clown. Oh no, he can handle the clown. No, I think this is something that came up from Generation X because clowns were never creepy.
My dad used to take me. He took me to go see. The Blue Marble starring oh my god, why am I drawing a blank? Columbo.
Peter Falk.
Why can't I think of Peter Falk? Jesus. Why did I? Oh my god, get old. It really sucks. So it started Peter Falk with a bunch of mud wrestlers, and I'm pretty sure there were some tits in that.
Okay,
covered in mud. And my dad took me to see that. My dad took me to go see Excalibur.
Oh, yeah.
Let's see, what else did he take me to go see? The Fly, the remake, and then he showed me the remake. But he also prepped me for it. He showed me the original, and I think the original is way more horrifying.
Really, sir? No,
it's the ending. The ending when Vincent Price sits down. Why do I remember Vincent Price's name, but I can't remember Falk's? Okay. Anyways. And Vincent Price sits down. It's at the end of the film, and he's trying to like, what just happened? Like, what shit show just occurred after they killed the fly? And by the park bench, there's a web, and there's a little fly with a human head saying, "Help me!" Yeah. And the spider is crawling through. That to this day freaks me out.
Really? Because
yes,
I
you don't think that was
you know,
terrifying?
Well, I saw that scene 25 times before I saw the actual movie, and then when I saw the actual movie, I wanted, even as a kid, wanted to see more Vincent Price. And there's not a lot of Vincent Price in that movie, and the first 2 acts are kind of boring. And David Cronenberg's The Fly, which came out in 1985, which I saw in a double feature with Aliens with my parents. That's much more gory and I'm really pleased that you found that terrifying. That's awesome, because for me it did nothing. I was
the Twilight Zone. The scene Twilight Zone is pretty good, except for the John Lithgow's terror at 8,000 feet or whatever it is.
Wait a minute,
the gremlin.
Except for
that? No. I found the episode. No. I'm going to eat those words. I take that back. So that one was freaky with John Lithgow with the flight, whatever, the airplane one, with the gremlin. That freaked me the fuck out. But the one with the kid that could do anything, that bothered me too. Now that I think about it, when the camera pans to the sister who's just like zoning out in front of the TV set, and it shows that she has no mouth. Oh man.
Oh yeah. I remember my parents rented that on Beta Max. And my dad's like, come on, I'm going to show you parts of this movie. And he only showed me the one with the kid that could do shit with the television land, and the one with Kick the Can.
Yeah.
And, that really fucked me up, that television.
I think Spielberg did Kick the Can, didn't he?
He did, yeah. And I remember being bored out of the hell by it as a kid, and now watching it recently, that rather pleased me. But
I know it's enjoying. Yeah, the worst part about it, of course, is the history of the film. With the helicopter accident, that will forever tarnish that film. But
if you
it is a good movie.
Yeah, if you have a Shudder subscription, and I know you do, you can go to. They have a series called Cursed Films, and that's the first film they talk about is the Twilight Zone. They talk about the Twilight Zone. They talk about Poltergeist, and don't ask me what other films they talk about, but it's pretty good. Anyway.
Oh, there's a good... I'm just going to bring this up. I know we're doing our Buddy Trail moment here. Well, we do it throughout the whole damn episode. But the actress that played the teenage daughter in Poltergeist, the one that died, there's a YouTube series that I don't know how I got to the algorithm for this to be brought up. But he does famous deaths in Hollywood. And so one of them he does, and it's like a little 10 to 15 minute, and he goes to the location of the death and talks about the case and what police were doing, and but he did one on that girl that played the older sister in
Dominique Dunn,
and she died. And she died a horrible death. I mean, it's absolutely horrible. Murdered by an abusive ex-boyfriend. But he the same channel released one on River Phoenix, which I didn't know anything about either. It happened in the early 90s, I believe, at a club in Hollywood called the Viper Room or the Viper Lounge or something. And that place, that lounge, that club has a history of its own, a very dark history. But yeah, he died right outside, and they released the call made by Joaquin Phoenix. He called 911 from the payphone right outside the club while his brother was dying from, I guess he had taken a speedball and what else? He took something else. But it just did him in.
Yeah, the thing about, back in the 80s when we were growing up, people were like, don't do drugs, say no to drugs, Nancy Reagan, blah, 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 blah. And then every single time somebody would die of drugs, my parents would be like, look at that! You don't want to turn out like that. And now it's like, wow, I wish we could enjoy drugs, but we can't because people keep fucking up drugs and putting things like fentanyl and heroin in them when really I just want to, do Molly or ecstasy,
Jeez Louise.
No, I'm just saying because back in the day...
Our viewership just jumped up. A bunch of...
20 years ago,
another market for us. Nice. Okay.
20 years ago,
kids out there.
I'm not gonna like. 20 years ago, we used to go to like circuit parties or as they used to call them.
So
raves.
what your mom and dad used to tell you, you didn't listen.
I didn't listen. No, I'm like, fuck that. They were talking about cocaine. They're not talking about ecstasy. Pop me a pill. Drink me some water. Give me the glow sticks. And anyway. All right.
Explains so much. Okay.
So,
are we done with our pre?
Well,
pre,
no, we're not done.
Because last time we talked too long.
We
didn't speak enough of that.
You actually reminded me. I wanted to bring this up, but I didn't write it down. But it reminded me. Mm-hmm. There is Murder, She Wrote news. There has been a death yesterday as we record this. We were recording this on the 30th, and this person died on the 29th. This person was a murderer in a recent episode that we reviewed. Howard Hessman has died. He's the one that played the killer in Widow. Weep with me. He was Peter Fever or whatever from WKRP. He died.
He died?
Yeah. He died.
No.
Yeah. It's kind of like I don't know. He was 81 years old. So yeah, that's how it goes. But he was a huge part of counterculture. He was in that show. He was really cool. And, I've seen like one episode of that show. I shouldn't speak about him.
WKRP? Oh, yeah. I love WKRP.
Yeah.
Man, we could do a podcast on that if you would let me. But, no, that's sad. Yeah, he was great. It's so weird. I'm sure our generation and maybe 10 years younger are probably starting to see their TV personalities or the people that were in the TV shows that we grew up with start to slowly fade away. It's sad. We're seeing the end of a generation there. And the actors.
I remember my mom used to watch it when I was growing up. I was too young to get it, like really young. I was too young to get the Brady Bunch at the time. But I remember seeing him with those shades on and the headphones on, and that still to this day around Thanksgiving, I still get the memes on social media about the turkey drop.
Oh, that's hilarious! Yeah.
Yeah,
and there was an episode where they wanted to test. They had a state trooper that was wanting to do anti-drinking, drinking and driving commercials, and so they were going to do live tests on Johnny Fever on the air. Like keep giving him shots of something, and like he had to hit a button. Like you go. Like the cop would count down or say a number, or say it goes now, and he would have to hit the button to stop the timer. And it was funny because as more drunk Dr. Johnny Fever would get, the faster he would get. And the trooper was like, "I don't understand it. It doesn't make any sense." And of course, it was always implied that Johnny was always probably smoking weed or something too, included with drinking. But it was just funny to me that he got his reaction times got better the more drunk he got.
Yeah, that kind of the way you describe that, and I can't remember. I can't tell you anything about WKRP, but it kind of reminds me of the humor of Cheech and Chong, which I always got growing up, and I was listening to it so many times that I didn't realize until I was old enough they were always stoned, and it was all about pot and getting stoned and. Anyway,
you didn't get that when you were watching it as a kid?
No, I didn't know anything about.
My
parents
sitting
were
in a
smoking
van
it left and right, but I never
with a doobie that's the size of a wiener dog.
I thought it was
lit up, and the smoke is filling in the room, and then they roll down the window as a cop comes up, and it's
not a cock, whatever. No, it wasn't that.
No, cop.
It was a huge, gigantic. What was it? It was a huge, gigantic joint, and you know what? If you showed me that when I was little, I would have thought it was a cigarette.
The big cigarette?
Yeah, but nowadays, I find it much more funny. Anyway, this is a Murder, She Wrote podcast. By the way, speaking of this, we spent the last two episodes 16 or 17 or 15 minutes talking about whatever, Chinese buffets or whatever. We got no. Yeah, we got a 2-star review on Apple Podcasts, and I'm like, "Fuck you!" And I think it might be because of this pre-show banter. But you know what? I'm going to be honest. Fuck that. No, fuck you. Whoever left us a 2-star review, fuck you.
You know what? Because I think what it is that you and I both said that when we go to those kind of restaurants that we kind of put a little of this and a little of that. We don't pile it high into a mountain like some people do. I bet you that person that gave us a 2-star review is one of the people that will pile it up.
It's either
I'll get 10 egg rolls. I'll get a pound of sushi, a pound of pizza. Like they just load it up. It doesn't make any sense, rhyme or reason.
But yeah, fuck you.
Okay,
and also we enjoy the pre-show banter for us and the readers. And there's a lot of podcasts that I listen to where they have pre-show banter, and I like to listen to it. My favorite murder, the Film Vault. They're just shooting the shit for 10 minutes before they start talking about what they're, and it's because they're your friends. It's like they're. I mean, we're not quite the caliber that they are in terms of downloading. But yeah. Speaking of which, I do have something that's pre-show banter, but it's Murder, She Wrote related. Last night, I had a murder board game party.
Oh, yes. I wanted to hear about that.
Yeah. So we played games like Kill Dr. Lucky. We didn't play Clue. I brought that out, but we didn't play Clue. We played a game called Notorious, which was fucking fuck to the yes. I love Notorious. And we also played a game called Murder on the Cards, which wasn't that great, but whatever. Also, the Murder, She Wrote board game. Yes, ladies and gentlemen.
I didn't know that was a thing until you told me, and I had to look it up. You can get, if you go on eBay, you can get it for like $20.
Yeah.
It's not that expensive.
That's how much I got it for years ago. Yes, I am very, very, very dubious of, from the 70s, or from the 60s through the 80s. There'd be a show and somebody would create a board game about it. There'd be a Brady Bunch board game.
Well, there's a Columbo one too, which is difficult to find and expensive.
Yeah,
that is a rarity. So,
the Murder, She Wrote board game is an extremely ugly, horribly dated board game. It is. It needs a second edition.
What's the date? When did they make that? By the way, I'm just curious.
Now you're putting me on the spot. I'm going to say 1986, but I may be wrong.
Because it looks like from the artwork on the box, it looks like it's from the 70s.
It looks like no, it's not the 70s because Murder, She Wrote didn't exist then.
Well, I know, but it looks the artwork is just horrendous.
Yeah, it's horrible.
It's got that uncanny valley of it. Kind of looks like Angela Lansbury, but something's off.
Yeah, it's a picture. She's
on
the front of the...
Like she went to a Chinese buffet and got fat. It's weird.
It is. You're exactly right. And it looks like she's retaining water. She's a little fluffy in the face. Like, okay, you didn't get this right. Yeah. And
too much MSG. Yeah.
We shouldn't laugh at that, but it's true. But the game itself, the board is a map. Well, not really a map. Mm-hmm. It's a map of Cabot Cove with 9 different locations with 9 different people at each location. So
let me guess. One is New York.
No.
In
These
England.
are all in Cabot Cove.
One is in L.A. One is somewhere in Arizona. Someone.
No, these are all in Cabot Cove.
I'm trying to name all the 9 locations in Cabot Cove. I'm sorry.
But they aren't actually in the show. So there's like an inn with like Hildred, the innkeeper, an old lady. And then there's like Chester, the lifeguard at the beach. And there's... I don't remember. Uh-huh. So
you know what we should do? We should do something where we get like a couple of people who do podcasts or YouTube shows about Murder, She Wrote, and do a live game of this.
Okay, that's great, Steve, but it can happen because I'm trying to describe the game and you're talking over me.
I'm just
and
excited.
If you listen to me, you would know. Anyway, so the board is a map of Cabot Cove, and what you have to do is one of you is randomly assigned the killer at the beginning of the game, and the killer's objective is to go around the board and kill as many people as he or she can before they escape on a boat off the island. And everybody else has to figure out who is the killer and get them before the game ends, before the killer gets away. So, yeah, the killer... you roll the...
Is Jessica Fletcher one of the people that you can play as? No.
No. There's just colored pawns, Steve. Thank you for burping over my wonderful review. Anyway, this game is actually pretty good because one of the people that you're playing with is playing against you and you don't know who it is, and I love that kind of shit because it's like murder mystery. The game is it's deviously simple in its design, but it's so fucking ugly, and I think somebody should just remake it and I don't know, make it a little bit more...
No way in hell is anybody going to remake that thing. Oh, my God.
No, it doesn't have to be a Murder, She Wrote board game. You can just take the aesthetics of or the mechanics of the game and make it about, like, ninjas or, murder in the... And then there were Nun House or something like that. And that would work. So, yeah, it's so ugly. It's so dated. But you can really, if you're out there, you can really shine it up. And if somebody is listening to this, and there's nobody that would be willing to do this probably, but if you want to do a Kickstarter to do a game like this without the art that is the Murder, She Wrote, go ahead and do it because it was really cool. Okay, all right. Are we ready? How long have we been talking for? I got to put my glasses on. We have been talking for 24 minutes about shit that doesn't have anything to do with our episode.
Let's get into it. So what are we reviewing? You said Murder Through the Looking Glass.
Yeah, we're
so
talking about...
let's.
Wait, yeah. I have to have a preamble here. I do a lot of reading, especially before the pandemic. I did a lot of reading. Now that we're kind of out of the pandemic, I've been doing a lot more reading. Because I'm not drinking at night so much. So here's the thing. There's different kinds of mysteries. All right? So Agatha Christie published her first book in the 1920s. It was called The Mysterious Affair at Styles. And it featured Hercule Poirot in his first book, obviously. And it was set in a big manor, and a lady died and all the suspects were there, whatever. Okay, we're not. And then she carried that through up until, I think, into the late 60s, early 70s, until she died. Now, around through those are mostly called cozy mysteries. And it depends on where you read it. It's either C-O-Z-Y or C-O-S-Y. But cozy mysteries are basically, hey, let's go from room to room. Let's talk to the suspects. And then at the end, we're going to say, hey, that's the murderer based on all these clues that I saw. Okay? Those are cozy mysteries. The detective doesn't go anywhere. And most of the times, the detective is an amateur, like Miss Marple or, Hercule Poirot was not an amateur. He was a private detective, and he was excellent. But then in the 40s, we had hard-boiled mysteries, okay, made by a gentleman named, primarily for me, but I'm not saying that he created it, but the big ones are Raymond Chandler, where we have a brown-suited private hard-boiled detective, and he drinks a lot, and he smokes a lot, and he just goes from place to place, and, somebody shows at for instance, somebody would show up at his office and die.
Oh, so that very much that cop noir thing.
Yeah. Noir, yeah, I don't want you... See, when you say the word noir, I think of movies from the 40s or 50s, where it's black and white.
It's just a feel or a theme.
Yeah. So, there was only one person who crossed these two mysteries well, the cozy and the hard-boiled. And that was Rex Stout with his Nero Wolfe and Archie Goodwin mysteries. Okay? And then there's times when these things cross. The hard-boiled mystery sort of evolved into Magnum P.I. Like, it was a mystery, but he was always out there with his gun, and maybe he would shoot somebody, right. And then it's sort of like... Then you got your police procedurals like Miami Vice, and that eventually Remington Steele was more cozy, but you got CSI and the pure police procedurals that are about forensic science and all that. You don't see that a lot in old-time literature. But then you have times that, and I'm going to bring up Columbo, where you have a format, and Columbo is its own unique format. It's an inverted mystery where you know who the murderer is, and Columbo has to figure out, how he's going to catch this murderer, and it's done ingeniously for the most part. Mm-hmm. It's very good and very entertaining. And I really do believe that there are people much younger than us that are still that are watching Columbo, and they're really getting into it. And Columbo went off its track twice, where they decided, hey, let's change a little bit. Let's do the episode No Time to Die. Or let's do Undercover. And it failed miserably. Well, tonight's episode, Murder Through the Looking Glass, is an episode where we see Murder, She Wrote trying to do a hard-boiled detective mystery. And whether or not they succeed, we shall see. I just had to put that out. I know I sound arrogant and pedantic, but I just had to put that out. And, with that sort of foundation and wonder whether or not it works. So, Steve, tell us about
it was a very... so it is a very different thing, because we see the murder, or a murder, at the very beginning. I mean, the show starts off on some pier, and we see that these two gentlemen walk out of the car, and one pulls a gun, and the other says, "Well, for my curiosity, who arranged the hit?" And the guy goes, "What good would it do?" And he shoots him, which we find out in the head and the heart, which is an assassin thing, I guess, which is called H&H.
Now, let me ask you this, Steve. If you were a hired assassin and you were about to kill somebody, wouldn't you tell them who hired the hit? I mean,
I would think for the story it would be nice. But then we would know what's going on, right? So, if I was really an assassin, I think I would want to honor the last words of someone who's about to die. They
deserve that. It's respectful, yeah. Mm-hmm. So
I like to think I'm a compassionate hitman, so yeah. It's funny, you and I play a game where you play as a killer in it. But I'm a very when I play a killer in this game, I'm very
It's Dead by Daylight, ladies and gentlemen. Well, you're like the game. What is you want to be sued by?
I don't want to lead you down another bunny trail here, but I mean, I feel like I would be similar in that I would not be such an asshole player that keeps tunneling the same person over and over, but like some people do. But yeah, let's get back to this. Okay. So the scene now jumps to Hartford Hotel, which there's a convention or some kind of meeting for the New England Booksellers Association. Okay. And I'm guessing Jessica...
Hold on, Steve. What? I'm sorry. I have to pause it because there are 3 Columbo connections in this, and you just started in the first one. And I think this is in San Francisco, but I may be wrong. Okay. The Hartford Hotel, if that's its real name, actually made an appearance in a 1990s Columbo episode called Death Hits the Jackpot. And that's where Columbo eventually arrests Leon Lamar for his...
Oh, the Lamar, yes. What was his name? What was that actor's name?
It's Rip Torn.
Rip Taylor? Rip Torn. I would always get that confused. Rip Torn, right. And if you hear my dogs going off the background, I apologize.
Well, it works. It happens.
Because they are big Rip Torn fans, apparently.
All right. So, yeah, Jessica is at this...
Well, no. What's the connection? What's the connection? Was that hotel?
I was just going to say
was he a member of the New England Booksellers Club? I mean,
no, he wasn't. It was just filmed in the same place, I think. And I think...
What was filmed? What? I watched that episode not too long ago. So what's the what building was it? Or I don't remember.
It's the interior of the hotel, if you will, is the same.
Yeah.
If you watch that Columbo episode, and you look at the
Yeah, right.
interior, it's the same wallpaper. Unless they use this, I'm just saying it's the same place.
Okay. So I like that. So yeah, just because she's, I guess, a guest speaker, and as soon as that thing is over, there's some old man flirting with her, asking her out. Hey, do you want to get some coffee and dessert? Wink, wink. Later, and she's like, "Oh yes, definitely." I don't know what's going on here. But as they head out for dessert, we see the hitman that just killed that poor fellow at the very beginning, and he seems to be having a heart attack. He's losing control of his vehicle. He's swerving all over the place, and yeah, that looks more like San Francisco than I think about the streets than it does somewhere on the East Coast. But whatever.
Yeah, it's definitely San Francisco.
And anyways, he crashes his car. Jessica runs to the car, and the hitman's saying, I need a priest, and fortunately, there's a priest across the road, which isn't much of a coincidence, actually.
And I immediately thought, I hate this,
why?
because okay, I'm just gonna reveal my thoughts. I know you like to keep yours buckled up until the end of the episode, but for me, I thought that he was poisoned, that somebody poisoned him.
Yes, I thought so too, and there were some clues that would go towards that, but yeah, go on.
No, that's not the fact.
I'm sorry, yeah, I thought so. No,
yeah, he just
he had a heart attack.
Yeah, he just conveniently had a heart attack right after he killed a guy, and he crashes his car, and there's this priest here. Yeah, okay, and Jessica is there.
Yeah.
And
so he ends up not being able to tell the difference between a priest and Jessica. He confesses to killing a Carl Cosgrove from Farmington. And unfortunately, the priest, he just hears the tail end of it. And he says H&H. And so she had, that's the only clue she knows, that this guy's admitted to killing somebody named Carl Cosgrove from Farmington, and the initials H&H. Doesn't know what the correlation is.
But I also thought, what is this? This guy's first kill? He's not going to confess to, because he's an older gentleman. He's got gray hair.
Yeah,
he's very neat looking, but he's older. He doesn't look like somebody who would have a heart attack. And I'm thinking, he's just going to confess to his last kill. What about the other people that you've killed, sir? Sir, what about the other people that you've killed? I mean,
well, maybe I could explain that away. If he's someone who's Catholic, let's say, so he believes in that. He probably does confessionals, and he probably goes after. I could see after every kill, he's got to confess so he can clear his heart.
Okay, all right.
So maybe after every kill, he confesses, and that way he feels like his soul is clean, even though he still went straight to hell.
That's fine.
He gets to cut front in line in front of all the other bad dudes. He gets to go straight to hell for killing all those people.
I'll get that. I'll take that. I'm not Catholic, but it sounds like The Godfather.
Who was it? There was a comedian. Was it Eddie Murphy who was minting back in the 80s? Was it Eddie Murphy? Well, there was some comedian back then that was saying, like, who shoots the Pope? It's like, do you want to be the first in line to go to hell? I mean, you could just get in front of all the other killers, serial killers, rapists. You get to go to the front of the line, sir. Yes, you just shot the Pope.
No, really.
Who was that?
Seriously.
Who said that?
I don't remember. I've heard that too. It's probably Eddie Murphy. Anyway, so Jessica's upset.
He had some really hot takes on other things as well back in the 80s.
Jessica's upset. She's like, oh my God, who did this guy kill? He says that he killed Carl Cosgrove. And Carl Cosgrove. So she goes to the police department, and she meets a Sergeant Cooper, who is played.
Can I say go ahead.
Go ahead. No, you go ahead, sir. You go ahead, sir.
I like it when the police detective or whoever she's working with in whatever particular episode doesn't know who she is, doesn't care, and it just wants to get her out of their face, out of their office. I love that. The last episode we had that was like that, was it... Which one was it? Was it Obituary for Dead Anchor?
It was Broadway Malady.
That's what it was, Broadway Malady.
And by the way, that detective is in this episode, by the way. The actor is in this episode.
It's also not the only thing from Broadway Malady that's in this episode, but we'll get there.
Okay.
But yeah, he's like, yeah, whatever, get out of here. And apparently he's got some marital issues with his wife, Nora. Apparently she left him the night before. He was just trying to watch the Celtics game. Come on. And she left him. And so now he's trying to find her. So he's more preoccupied with finding his wife than talking to some kook.
So I've got to tell you two things. Number one was, prior to watching this, I read something about Celtics. The Irish.
What?
Celtics. 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 And I'm pretty sure they're called Celtics, wherever you go. I may be wrong. Don't fucking email or tweet it at me, please. But in Boston, and I thought, well, it's kind of like the Boston Celtics. They're called Celtics.
You're from Chicago.
Well, I'm not from Boston. I'm not Irish, but 30 minutes later, I'm hearing him talking about the Celtics. I'm like, oh my god, talk about the synchronicity. But anyway, so Sergeant Cooper was played by an actor named Lawrence Luckinbill. Wait, hold on, let me make sure I got that right. Lawrence, and
he's
Luckinbill.
Great, by the way.
Yeah,
I love this guy. I really wish he would go become the sheriff over at Cabot Cove. I think he's great.
I actually agree with you. Lawrence has been previously seen as he was a villain in one of the Star Trek movies. He was also
the one with God. I can't remember.
Yes. Don't ask me to name his. Was he a Klingon or was he a? I should watch those movies again because I enjoyed them when I was younger. But he was
Spock's brother.
Oh, okay, cool.
That's all I remember.
Yes. Okay, cool. Yeah. Christopher Plummer was the one that was a Klingon. I don't know if it was in that. It doesn't matter. But Lawrence Luckinbill was also in Columbo. He was a victim in the episode "Make Me a Perfect Murder," in which he was killed by Trish Van Devere. You have 1 minute. You have 30 seconds. Do you know what I'm talking about here, Steve? I know the readers love. No, it's the one that you watched at my house with me. One of the two that you watched at my house with me. She basically, he dumps her and doesn't give her the job that she deserves, so she kills him. And she kills him very cold-bloodedly. During working hours, late at night, admittedly. That's not during working hours. And she just walks into his office and shoots him while she's working the projector. Okay, Steve, if you don't remember it, that's fine.
I don't.
Okay. All right.
Sorry.
We should do another Columbo podcast in which Steve...
Me remembering?
remembers things from...
I think I've seen this one before.
Yeah. All right.
Steve, do you remember this one? No. I'd be happy to do another Columbo. I like Columbo's very entertaining. I still have my box set.
Okay. Well, you should still have your box set. I gave it to you, yeah. So, all right. So, he dies, and there's this priest that comes over named Father Patrick Francis. And immediately I thought, he's the murderer. He's the fucking murderer.
Yeah, well, it's very convenient that when she's looking for a priest, there's one.
Yeah.
Right? But, again, I don't think that's we find out later it's not really a coincidence. I think we've gotten past that part. So we find out about Sergeant Cooper. He's very apprehensive. Kind of, he's listening to Jessica, her theories that, he's a hitman, and she's explaining why she thinks that, and he's just laughing at her. He just wants to get her out. And he even tells her, get out of here. Leave me alone. Too busy. And there's a point where he actually even says, "Look, I'm going to call Mrs. Cosgrove, or we're going to call the household." And he talks to them, and she's like, the wife is like, "No, he's upstairs, but he can't talk right now. He got stung by a bee or some shit."
We need to talk about Mrs. Cosgrove's hair. Her hair is just...
Okay.
Did you just wake up? Or did you just, have this style that super cuts? What the fuck with the hair? And her outfit. Oh my god. Talk about 1980, whenever this aired. Yeah, she's... whatever. She seems put together more or less, I guess. But keep on going. I'm sorry.
Wow, I didn't know we were going to be reviewing A Fashionable Way to Die again. So, yeah, she denies that there's been any wrongdoings, and her husband's all well and fine. And so Jessica, after being told to leave, that there's no case, there's no homicide, or there is no open homicide case here, that she goes and she takes a taxi. What was it? What was the name of it? It was the West Hartfield taxi cab service. So she takes one of those. She arrives and she asks to speak to Mrs. Cosgrove, and she wants to meet Carl, which she does. And Carl's laying in bed. We assume it's Carl laying in bed. He's got an oxygen mask on.
Wait, hold on. No, I have to interrupt, sir. Sir!
What?
So Carl is recovering from an asthma attack. Now, I have asthma. I've had it all my life. When you have an asthma attack, there's an asthma attack, and then there's, like, oh my goodness, I've been exerting myself too much. Let me take my inhaler. Like, what's his name from It? And then there's, like, I have a severe asthma attack. This dude was in bed with an oxygen mask on.
With his pajamas on.
With his pajamas on. And this is not how you recover from an asthma attack, ladies and gentlemen who don't have asthma. You should have, if you have an asthma attack that lasts longer than, say, 12 hours, you really should be going to the hospital and getting a shot and getting some pulmonary respiratory things. But no, he's basically in a fucking coma, which is not how it works.
Yeah, all he can do is wave.
Yeah. That's not
how
it works.
And this is where I started believing that when you brought up earlier about the assassin who was having the heart attack, you thought that maybe he was poisoned. See, I thought it may have been some kind of airborne agent that was suffocating, removing the oxygen from his lungs. Mm-hmm. Because I thought, well, maybe the guy in that bed was probably the person who made the concoction, and so he was on a breathing respirator. So I immediately start thinking that guy didn't die of a heart attack. He was poisoned or was some kind of, again, I'm sure there's powders or something you put in the air that causes someone to stop breathing or having a hard time breathing. That was my initial thought. But that's all it was just a thought. It doesn't go anywhere. So
there's three guys here, and they're when Jessica shows up to Mr. Cosgrove's, quote, Mr. Cosgrove's house, there's three guys, and I called them security guys in my notes. And their names are Mr. Jackson.
I got it written down if you need me to.
Okay. Their names are Mr. Jackson, Mr. Van Buren, and Mr. Pierce, which are all names of early presidents. So, right?
It sure is. I didn't think of that.
Yeah, Pierce is an early president, right?
I don't think so.
Andrew Jackson, Martin Van Buren, and I'm sure there was a Pierce in there. Shit. We don't know anything about our history, ladies and gentlemen. But Pierce is played by a gentleman named Dan Shore, who, if you're very careful in your 80s movie watching, he played Billy the Kid in Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure.
Did he now?
Yeah. Do you remember this guy?
I do now.
Yeah. Yeah, he was Billy the Kid.
Okay, so So I know the answer to your question about the presidents. It was Franklin Pierce.
Oh.
Who was the 14th president of the United States.
Okay. Very cool.
Can't believe you didn't know that.
And, of course, Jackson is played
I had
by...
to Google it for you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Jackson is played by Robert Reed, who is... he played a killer in Columbo in Grand Deceptions, where he played Colonel Brady, who killed somebody, and supposedly while he was setting up books. Do you remember this, Steve? Please tell me.
No.
We didn't like this episode, Steve.
Well, I recognize him as Mr. Brady from the Brady Bunch.
No, it's not. No, it's not the same person. Is it?
Yes. Isn't it?
No, I thought it was the guy from Columbo. Wait, hold on.
Wow, this is a great podcast.
Yeah, this is a wonderful podcast. Excuse me. All right, so I'm going to look up Robert Reed. I don't think it's the same guy from the Brady.
It is.
It's not. No.
It is.
Oh my God, you're right. It's Robert Reed. Yeah, he died in 1992 from HIV or AIDS. Yeah,
AIDS, yeah.
Never mind. I'm thinking, I remember now, Robert Foxworth, who looks exactly the same as Robert Reed. Never mind. Erase that. I'm going to edit that. I'm not going to edit it out. But
No,
okay.
because you don't edit out my screw-ups, so...
But yeah.
So I'm thinking those president names had to be like not the real names, right?
Yeah,
They were
that's
cover
right.
names. So,
And,
then we see Mr. Brady and his security team. They're in a room with a one-way mirror, and they're watching a Senor Delgado, who I thought looked like a very young and fatter version of Al Pacino.
Okay.
What do you think?
I don't know. I guess so.
But-
I don't know.
But they're holding him because he's wanting to meet with a committee in Washington, I guess, to raise some funds to overthrow whatever government he's from, some South American government.
Yeah.
Cuba, I don't know. Colombia, they do mention Colombia, so maybe somewhere in Colombia, I don't know.
So the gentleman who is taking care of him, the commandant, I call him the commandant, is played by a gentleman named, hold on, I gotta get my fucking glasses, god damn my eyes. Sanchez is played by a gentleman named Gregory Sierra, and he was the detective in Broadway Melody. He was the New York detective that didn't have any time to talk to Jessica and all that. Do you remember this? Does it bring a...
I don't remember him in it.
This
I
was
don't.
the guy.
I remember the
He was
episode, but I
like
don't
the
remember.
butler. Okay.
Huh. So, but yeah, so Jessica goes to visit, and I don't think she's very convinced, but she heads back to her hotel room, and the front desk clerk at the hotel says that a Father Francis is trying to get a hold of you, and he's waiting at the local church at St. Jerome's. So she heads over there, and what happens? I'm trying to remember.
So she meets him, and he's like, "Oh yeah." And then it's like,
and he says, "Oh, Jessica Fletcher."
Yeah. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Well, no, she meets him at the church, and he goes, "Miss Jessica Fletcher," and she says something like, "Oh, how did you know my name?" And he says, "Well, the person at the front desk told me." I thought that was interesting. I thought that was going to be a clue, but it wasn't.
And she's talking to him in the church. She's talking to the priest in the church, and I thought, okay, killer. He's the killer, and he's not really a priest.
I need an old priest, a young priest, and I'm sorry, go ahead.
He's a young priest, and the old priest comes in. He goes, "Oh, hello, Father," whatever his name is. told me it was me. But he's like, oh yeah, that's Father Kelly. He doesn't have his eyesight is bad. Okay, all right, that's a clue.
Why do you say that? I don't understand.
I don't know, Steve. Anyway, Jessica's onto it because she goes into the room to use the phone, and she sees that there's a different placard on the desk than what the old priest said. So
why would a priest have that on their whatever? So yeah, she got a call from Sergeant Cooper, and Sergeant Cooper is calling her to let her know that they found a body at the pier, and it's got 2 extra holes in it than it usually does. And I like how she says, how'd you know it was at St. Jerome's? And he goes, well, the hotel desk clerk told me. So right off the bat, my radar is going off. And I'm thinking, this front desk guy, he's the killer. He knows her whereabouts. He's keeping track of Angela for some reason.
Yeah,
he knows...
Exactly. I agree with... it's like, where the fuck do you go to, to a hotel and say to the front desk clerk, hey, I'm going to be at the church, and if anybody calls, could you let me know? Maybe that's how it worked in 1985.
Well...
But I'm pretty sure it didn't.
When's the last time you were at a large hotel, and you're walking out down the lobby, out the lobby to go get some coffee or whatever, and the front desk person goes, Mr. Homrig... Oh, sorry, were we supposed to say our last names in this?
No, it's okay, no worries.
Okay. Mr. Sean, you can get it that if you want. Mr. Sean, got a call. They're not going to know you from Adam.
I don't know.
Just saying.
I've been to the Courtyard Marriott for 80 times, probably, and I've never said, sir,
you're a regular.
If somebody calls for me, let them know. Well, this is... 2000 whatever. This isn't 1985, but it's still in 1985. I remember checking in to the Days Inn with my parents in Grand Canyon, Colorado. We were never like, hey, if my boss calls, let them know we're at the Grand Canyon. What the fuck? I don't think.
And I'm sure if you gave him instruction like, hey, I'm going to be out. If John Doe calls me, will you please inform? You know what they're going to do? They're going to write it down on a piece of paper. As soon as you turn around and walk out that door, they're going to crumple up that piece of paper and they're going to throw it in the trash can.
Okay, sir. I'll write that
and
down.
Give you the finger.
Yes.
Give you the finger as you leave.
Fuck you. Let me write it down.
Not your fucking slave. Jerk.
So Lawrence Luckenbach...
You want a wake-up call, huh? No, sorry. Yeah, go on.
They still offer wake-up cars. Excuse me, wake-up calls.
Cars?
No, wake-up cars are good, too. But wake-up
I always felt sorry for the guy that had to do that. Be like, yes, I want a 2 a.m. wake-up call. And I'm sure the guy taking down the response is like, God damn it.
Fuck. I have to leave at
there goes my
2
night.
o'clock instead of 12. No, I think it's automated now. You can still get that because there may be some people who don't have phones.
Oh yeah, well last time
Number
I ordered,
one, they don't have
last time
phones,
I ordered one, it was a person.
They don't have alarms on their phones. Number two,
well, right,
they don't know how to use the alarm clock that's already in the hotel room, and then
it's covered in blood and cum. Yeah,
I hate you so much. Anyway,
where were we? Okay, yeah. So they found the body. And what happens? Oh yeah, they know. So they also know the body belongs to a Carl Cosgrove because of his driver's license.
Right.
Now the interesting thing, which this is an actual clue, not the front desk guy, which I was pretty sure had something to do with the killing, but is that how did Father Francis know that that the person who died in the accident was an assassin? Because that was an unknown thing. So that well, though that's the thing. He was he's working on the inside. He's not who he says he is.
Yeah, he was in internal affairs for the DSS or whatever it was. So he tells Jessica that, hey, yeah, I'm not really a priest. My name is actually whatever.
Well, we're not there. We're not there yet. Hold on.
Okay.
So Sergeant Cooper and his infinite wisdom, decides to take Jessica with him to the Cosgrove house. I don't understand why cops trust her so much. Like, if you're doing a criminal investigation or a homicide investigation, would you bring a strange woman that you don't know anything about with you?
Yes, I agree whatsoever. Yeah, I mean, it's not like she lived in New York for a number of years and she gets the trust of...
Got to know. Yeah.
We see that later on, and of course, we see that also in Cabot Cove. But this guy, Lawrence Luckenbill, which I'm just going to... He's sort of an angry guy. Like, God damn it, I'm going to get to the bottom of this.
If you don't let me in, I'm going to use you as a battering ram to open that door. I mean, he's hardcore. And that's what I like about him. He's just, I think he's great.
But once he gets in, they pull a gun on him. Because they're, like, what would you call it?
Yeah.
I don't know what the fuck they are in this house. They're like a safe house for political prisoners.
It's a safe
it's
or political, people they just need to keep, kind of. But Cosgrove. Cooper charges up the stairs and he's stopped by Delgado's goon, Sanchez, and then Van Buren pulls a gun on him. So that's when we get to formally meet Mr. Brady. Mr. What was his name again? Jackson, that's correct. And he formally introduces himself to Sergeant Cooper and Jessica. And I like that he knows who she is. Like, they have whatever government, DSS or whatever, they have a file on her, right? And he starts reading off her file out loud. He goes, you were married, no children, you don't like to drive, but you travel. And I like how Jessica shuts him down. Like, no more. You don't need to say anything else. And I thought that was really interesting. And it kind of leads into the theory that maybe she does have some, the funny conspiracy that Jessica is a serial killer in Cabot Cove.
Okay, well, I'm not on board with that. Stop.
I know you're not. I know you're not.
No.
I know you're not. But
that's just
it almost makes me think like, we've been watching you, Jessica. We know. No. You don't have to say anything else. It's all good. We're all good. But apparently he knew her from a previous episode. That's one I watched without you. It was actually my first ever Murder, She Wrote episode I watched. From beginning to end. But he's referencing an episode called Death Takes a Curtain Call. I pulled up on like YouTube because I wanted to watch a really good Murder, She Wrote to kind of get ready for this podcast. And it said the number one most liked episode was Death Takes a Curtain Call. I know you'll probably forget this by the time we actually get to review it, but it was horrible. It was one of the worst episodes. But he does reference it because there are two Russian ballet dancers that defect, and a KGB agent that she ends up befriending. So he knows her from that file of dealing with the KGB agent and the defectors.
Yeah.
Which was a season one
yeah.
episode, and we're talking about season 4.
So Jackson is sort of like, okay, all right, she's here. Lawrence Luckenbill is here, and he says, okay. Everybody leaves, and he says to Van Buren, well, Mrs. What's her name? God damn it. The Mrs. whatever. The
Cosgrove?
lady. She's only there to be Mrs. whatever. It might be Cosgrove. Mrs. Adams, whatever. By the way, there's no president named Cosgrove. But it should have been. But
well, I think it's interesting. I don't know if you caught this, but when Mr. Brady and Van Buren are kind of stonewalling him, Cooper and Jessica, Van Buren offers them. He interrupts and says, "Would anybody like a cup of coffee?" And I thought that was funny because when you realize that coffee takes a major thing, a major clue that happens later.
It is? Oh!
Yes. But he offers everybody coffee, and I like how Brady looks at him like, no, I'm not drinking your damn
I love
poison
that you call him
coffee.
Brady. You don't even call him by his like real name in the episode, which is
I like
Jackson.
That's no, he's Mr. Brady.
But at some point, Jackson or Brady, as you will say, says to Van Buren something about his attraction towards the fake Mrs. Crossgrove.
Right,
Ellen.
yeah.
He's like, oh, you should be careful. And Van Buren says, well, you weren't attracted to her. That's a gay thing. Gay.
Really? Well, and I think it's interesting that Cooper, because he knows that he's not getting anything from Mr. Brady or Van Buren, that he concentrates on her. And he shows her the picture of the body, which I'm shocked that they would do that. But you can tell she's obviously affected by it. She's shocked to see the body. But we don't know why just yet. But we do find out later that she did have a love affair with him. And they were planning to get married. So she was very attached to him. And I guess to see his body being pulled out of the water, it just, it really hurt her.
This is the thing, though. What's his name? What's the dead guy's name?
Cosgrove? Carl?
Cosgrove.
Yeah,
Carl Cosgrove.
Adams. Well, his real name was Adams.
Yeah, its real name is Adams.
Yeah.
And it's brought up that he's younger. He was, sort of a, go-getter in this business of, the safe house and whatever. And I'm like, he was an old man. He had gray hair. He was handsome. He had a full... Oh, wait. He was younger than Mr. Brady? Whatever. Whatever.
Maybe. Yeah,
I don't know.
But we also find out another clue that's given to us early. It doesn't quite make sense just yet. That Van Buren says, he blames Mr. Brady. He says, well, you shouldn't have let him meet that strange person in the parking lot. But the thing is, which I guess you kind of tell where we're leading with who the killer might be, is that nobody knew that Adams was going to meet somebody in the parking lot except for Adams and the killer. That was an unknown. But how did Van Buren know that?
That's it. Yeah, that's our clue. There is a wonderful scene where Jessica comes back from talking to all these people. She goes to her hotel room, her luxurious 5-room hotel room.
Oh yeah.
She sits down.
And did you recognize the hotel room?
It looks like the same one from the one from Paris. Am I right?
Well, no, it's the same. Maybe it is, but I recognize it as Rita Bristol's room or apartment from Broadway. Milady.
Really? Oh, I did
Malady,
not know that. I did not catch that. No.
Yeah, it's the same room. I know. I think I would not want to be there. It's always a pot of coffee, though, for sure.
Well,
but I like. Yeah.
Go ahead.
What?
No.
Well, no.
ahead.
She notices she peels off her shoes, and she sees a open beer bottle on the table.
Hold on. I gotta.
What?
No, she sits down in this chair, and it's like, and she kicks off her high-heeled shoes. And I'm like, oh, girl, I'm there with you. Because I'm like that when I come home from work. I want to put my fat pants on, take off my shoes, and watch a fucking, thing on TV. And she does that, and then she's like, fuck, I can't relax because there's a strange bottle of beer. And it's called... The label on the beer bottle is Mr. Beer. And she's like, oh my God, what is that? And all of a sudden the father comes around and he says,
who
hey!
drinks this cheap shit?
Yeah. Hey, that was mine. It took me, it was too long. You showing up. It's like, okay, you don't do this if you're a professional. Oh, it's too long. Waiting for
you. You don't go to somebody else's home and drink all their booze.
Yeah, exactly.
What the hell? God. And she was saving that beer for later. Come on. He didn't bring the beer with him. He didn't bring the beer with him.
Bring the beer with him? Yeah, exactly.
No, he didn't bring the beer. It was in her refrigerator.
So it basically.
But
that one bottle of beer probably cost her $16 because he took it out of the hotel fridge.
The mini fridge, you're right. I know you look. You ever wake up and you open the little mini fridge and you're like just tempted, like, oh, those little bag of M&Ms look so delicious, but what's this? $6.50?
I hate
What?
that.
And I've often wondered what would happen if someone were to take that was in your room visiting, or maybe the cleaning lady, or they maybe misreported, and you had to pay $6.50 for a bag of M&Ms.
Well, okay,
or bottled water.
I'll admit something. I was on a business trip one time, and I don't know what I had to eat for dinner, but I did eat. There was a package of gummy bears that I could not resist, and I ate the gummy bears, and it probably cost my company $9. Just saying that.
What?
Anyway, let's get back to this, whatever this is. I hate this episode, Steve. I don't want to talk about it anymore. So much happens.
Well, I'm sorry. I'm just shocked because I would think the worst thing you could say that you bought that your company paid for at a hotel would be some porn or something like that.
No, I wouldn't. No. So, Father.
So I want to know how did Father Francis know she was there? It was the hotel clerk. I'm telling you, Sean, this guy's in on it. He's telling everything about. He's following her. He's keeping track of J.B. Fletcher.
All right. So they go to a park.
Hold on, okay. So
they go to a park. And
hold on. Well, yeah, we're introduced. Hold on. We're introduced to Father Francis, and we find out. Yeah, he works for internal affairs for the DDS or DSS or whatever the fuck it's called. And he says, "Let's go for a walk. We need to talk." So I'm sorry, I just had to explain that because I don't think that was clear, but I didn't mean to. Okay, there you go. Go ahead.
And he's like, "Hey, there is an insider doing bad shit, and it's one of 4 people. It's either Mr. Brady Bunch, Van Buren, or Billy the Kid from Bill and Ted's, or it's the fake Mrs. Cosgrove. So there are your suspects, finally, in this episode of Murder, She Wrote. Now, shortly after this, and I'm cutting to the punch here, the commandant, the political prisoner that they're keeping in a bedroom, dies. He dies from suffocation. Somebody basically
do you mind if we cover something?
Okay, go ahead.
Well, there's something else that I thought was curious before we get there. Sorry. So we find out that Father Francis really is not a priest. It's actually one of his favorite covers. He likes to dress up as a priest because he's into some kind of priest and nun fetish. That's all I can assume. But he feels more comfortable in wearing a priest outfit around people, which is creepy as fuck. Don't you think?
I don't know. I'd do it. Well, no, he says something. It's really true. He's like, okay, they look at the collar, they don't look at the person. So,
right, and God knows how many sexual deviances has he been up to since wearing that thing. But Jesus Christ, that's all I'm saying.
Keep on going.
Okay. So yeah, he asks. He's like, Jessica, since I can't go to the house. They're gonna know who I am. And they're going to know I'm from internal affairs, so they're going to close ranks on me, and I won't be able to get anything out of it. So he asks her to, which I find odd that you would ask somebody that's outside of the department.
Yeah, exactly.
Huh?
No, I said exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. And so he's begging her, can you go in and do your thing, and you're a great person with glues. This, if you could. Initially, she says no, but next scene we see her. She's back at her hotel room. She's just gotten out of the shower and drying her hair, even though her hair is completely dry. She accepts the mission from Mr. Secretary, whoever that is. What?
No. And then...
Did you want to talk about her lipstick?
Oh, yeah. He gives her a lipstick, and the lipstick is basically a GPS. So all she needs to do is...
it's such a... Yeah.
And
it's a clunky GPS, by the way.
Okay.
Sorry.
So if somebody said to me, I don't know, 12 years ago, saying, okay, you're going to cover a podcast episode about this, I would say, okay, bye. I don't want to cover a podcast about this episode. Not necessarily about Murder, She Wrote, but I know it's not done, Steve, but I hate this. Okay, keep on going.
Well, you hate the tracking device?
No!
It's very James Bond.
Stop.
Oh. It's very James Bond, the lipstick. It's I like this. She goes, oh, how'd you know this is my favorite shade? He goes, it's on your file. I'm like, holy cow, what else is on this file? When she takes a dump, does she take a morning pee? I mean, come on. What is this file?
It is so stupid. It is really stupid. And I'm just going to... Can I fast forward, or do you want to keep going?
No, we can go to where Delgado is found dead in his bedroom.
Okay. So Delgado, the Commandant, is found dead in his bed, and he's been strangled. And by the way, we do see those bruises around his neck. And what's his name?
Yeah.
Pierce
was
on call right then, except he fell asleep. And,
he was on the other side of the mirror. Yeah.
He's so horrible. Hold on. When he's confronted about it, he's like, hey, Pierce, you were on call there. Why was Delgado poisoned on your watch? And he's like...
Or strangled.
Strangled, you're right. And he's like, what? Oh, no, I didn't mean it. I'm so... he's terrible.
It's all my fault. I'm like, no, don't. We need to get this man a lawyer. Don't ever admit to anything like that. It's not your fault.
It was so bad. I mean, just the acting. Did you see the acting, Steve?
It was pretty on the nose. It was, yeah. The actor's playing Pierce. He wasn't bad until he's being interrogated by Mr. Brady and Father Francis.
So,
but yeah, they're like, "Why'd you fall asleep?" And he goes, "Well, I usually have the morning shifts, the night shifts, but I've been having a hard time staying awake. So Van Buren offered to trade with me so I could be there in the morning, and so he's just trying to do me a favor, but I still fell asleep."
Wait, he said that Van Buren offered to trade.
Yeah, Van Buren traded. I can't remember if it said then, but we find out later that they did trade shifts to watch Delgado. So that's another clue. But what did I say? Oh, JB. Even though we have now two deaths. We've got Cosgrove, or the original guy, and then we also have Delgado. And Jessica is convinced these two murders are related for some reason. That there's a commonality. That there's the same killer involved with this. And so she talks Father Francis and Sergeant Cooper into watching, going into the room with the mirror. They're on the other side while she invites Van Buren into the bedroom so they could watch her easy interrogation. And we find out that she suspected all along that he's been drugging Pierce's coffee with some kind of agent that would make him sleepy. So he'd be grumpy and always tired, and then when he offered to switch shifts, he'd be more than happy to do so because that would give him a chance to sleep that night. But what he had done is
How did she know this, Steve?
I don't know. Maybe because when she was offered coffee at the beginning of the episode and everybody turned it down, maybe she knew, like, don't drink the coffee. Bad news. I don't know. Maybe because Pierce was saying he could not seem to wake up, like he was always tired. Maybe she recognized
No.
He was drugged. And I think it was interesting because Van Buren said, you can't prove that. I'm like, all you have to do is take a blood test from Pierce, and you'll see evidence of that drug. Like, that would be a huge indicator.
Or Van Buren,
right?
You could just shut the fuck up and say, I didn't do anything. And go to trial and say, oh, not guilty. No, this... Yeah, go ahead.
So, I think it's interesting. So, what's the motive you're asking? And I know I was thinking this, what's the fucking motive? What's the point? Why did he do this? So, there were 3 motives. One specifically, it was outlined, but I think there's actually 3. The first major one for Van Buren killing both Anderson... not Anderson. Who was it again? Jackson.
Yeah.
Not Jackson.
No, not Jackson. Adams.
Adams, thank you. Why he set up the killing for Adams and why he had Delgado killed was the money for the assassination. So the government, Delgado's government wanted him dead.
Yeah. You got
Which, oh my God, I just thought of something. So when Van Buren talks about getting a shipment of specially delivered Colombian coffee, I bet you it's because he's been in communication with whoever's been sending him the coffee, he's been communicating with for the hit. That's how he knows that the coffee's that good.
Okay, that's great. Okay, that's great. Okay,
yeah.
It still didn't.
So the money. The money for the assassination. 2, I think he had aspirations to take over Mr. Brady's job. So by taking out the first 2 people in front of him, he would maybe be the next in line. And 3rd, he was horny for Mrs. Cosgrove. He even admitted that, hey, he found her attractive.
Yeah,
and so if she was going to, and if she was smitten with the other guy, I could see that as being a reason. Like now she has nobody but me.
All right.
I'm next in line for her love.
So Steve has it written up in a box. Hooray!
Hurrah!
Why?
Do you have anything to add? Did I miss anything?
You didn't miss anything. No, it's all okay. There's a lot in this episode, and there's a lot. Okay, why don't you just tell us what we're going to rate this on?
No, keep going.
No, I don't like this. That's why I'm saying that.
You're done with it.
Yeah, I'm done with it.
All right. So tonight's number came from the phone number off the West Hartford taxi cab service. So if you need, Sean, if you're in West Hartford and you need a taxi, don't use Uber. I want you to call the taxi company at 555-1721.
I hate you.
That's 555-1721. So what would you rate it out of 1721, Sean?
201. I hated this. No, I shouldn't say I hated it. It's not
really
fair. I didn't like it at all. I don't like it. The reason that I talked about the different genres of mystery, it didn't do that well with this. I mean, like, Jessica's, pulled into an international, plot, and the detective is so easy to bring her in there. I'm talking about the father. There is absolutely nothing in there when she gets the killer and he's invited into the room with her and she tells him how he did it. What are the clues? How does she know that he did it? It's a terrible episode. It is I hate this, Steve. I don't like it at all. It's a terrible episode. It was her trapped in San Francisco dealing with, government agents and, a guy was killed. No, he wasn't, blah, 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 blah. And then at the end of the episode, we find out she knows everything, but how could she know that? So, I'm done. Tell me, Steve.
All right, so out of 555-1721, you give it a 555-0201. A 201. correct?
Yeah, that's fine.
I'm recording this. Okay. I'm going to give it...
You're going to get a
My
woof,
dogs again.
woof. That's fine.
Yeah, I give it a woof, woof, woof. Woof, 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 woof. This could be the first episode where we disagree. And I love that. I love it when we disagree.
Oh, God damn it.
I liked it. I enjoyed the... I don't know. I thought the story was really good. It was a different format. I agree. And I didn't feel like it was... It went in the wrong direction like some of those Columbos that what you were discussing earlier. Because I remember some of those. They were just bad. Especially the kidnapping one. That was horrible. With the serial... Not the serial killer, but the serial rapist. And... So I liked it. I thought it was really good. The actor, I know you said earlier, who played Sergeant Cooper, I thought he was great. Seeing Mr. Brady again, I loved his little thin mustache. Like,
that's not the episode, though. That doesn't count.
Yes, I know. I'm slightly drunk. I'm just telling you what I enjoyed. I did enjoy the story. I liked that I felt like there was a lot of hidden stuff that weren't completely explained, but didn't need to be explained. For example, there being a priest. I think that the hitman was reporting for some reason to the, or maybe he knew he was being trailed by someone in internal affairs dressed as a priest, and so he had to give him the information. Not that he was necessarily a religious man, but that was his connection. That he needed to relay this special detail that the hit had been made. An H&H to a priest. Like, that was the guy that... I don't know. I felt like there was a lot of backstabbing and a lot of subplot going on that we weren't all familiar with until you talk about it. Like with the coffee being from Colombia. How would Van Buren... Or why would he make that comment about the coffee? Just little things here and there. I enjoyed that. So, I'm going to give it a 555... 1555. So that's out of for those that are drunk like me. So that's out of 1721. I give it a 1,555.
No,
I like.
No, I don't agree with. I think
you don't agree with what I like. Okay.
No. It's not that I don't agree with what you like. I'm just like, no, this was terrible. This is a terrible episode. I felt like...
And the guy who played Father Francis, I recognized him from something. I thought he was great, too.
I looked him up. I didn't recognize him from anything, but you might. But from bad movies that you might like, maybe, like this episode. Anyway. No, there's nothing in this that I find redeemable. I thought that they tried too hard to make this,
really?
As I said, a hard-boiled detective story with Jessica in there, but she's not a hard-boiled detective. And I still don't understand how the fuck she knew it was Van Buren. And you talk about the coffee, but no, Steve, I can't. I can't.
Well, there was a point where Jessica's talking to Mrs. Cosgrove. And she says, Mrs. Cosgrove says a line, and it's one of those typical words. I don't remember what the line is right now, but it says something like, says something, and it makes Jessica think, like, oh, and she kind of it gives her an idea, like, not the original meaning to what she said, but it just stirs her internal thoughts. And whatever Cosgrove said, I remember thinking to myself, how did that lead her to thinking of Van Buren? It didn't make any sense to me, admittedly, but... Again, we're talking about a 45-minute episode that you've got to kind of take cuts. You got to trim it down. Sorry you didn't like it, though.
No, I didn't like it at all. Okay.
I enjoyed it.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's... Steve.
Sean?
Are you ready to spin the wheel?
Yes, I'm ready.
Okay. Hold on. I'll get the wheel. And
what about the cats? I thought the cats got the wheel.
No, the cats got the wheel. They're here.
Okay.
And hold on, the cats are coming. They're coming. And spin the wheel now.
Okay. spinning it now. Right now. I'm spinning it now. I spun it.
Okay, wait, hold on, Steve. Hold on.
Okay, I'm holding.
Well, no, you spun the wheel, but we're actually going to talk about Snow White, Blood Red.
What?
Snow White, Blood Red.
Ah, I've actually seen this one.
Yes! This is the one! This is the one, ladies and gentlemen. If you know what we're talking about, you know it. But if you don't know it, you don't know it. So, yeah.
Okay. Well, thanks.
All right, Steve. Until next time.
Yes. How drunk are you?
I shall look forward to our conversation.
How drunk are you, Sean?
I'm so drunk. I'm like, I'm going to lie down and go to bed in about 2 minutes. But why do you ask that?
Oh, I'm just curious.
Okay, so if you want to know what Snow White, Blood Red is about, it says, there's something sinister on the slopes when Jessica finds herself snowed in at a resort with the U.S. ski team and a murderer. It's
murderer.
Okay. It's one of the most famous Murder, She Wrote episodes of all time. And,
really? And it was not listed as first, like Death Takes a Curtain Call, which is absolutely ass. This one is actually really good. I when I watched this one, because this was also on that top 10, this one I would, it's a well-deserved spot in the top 10.
I read I don't know what episode or what website it was, but like the top 10 most creepy Murder, She Wrote episodes. One of them was Hannigan's Wake, which we did. The number one of all time was Incident at Lot 7.
We did that one too.
Yeah, it sucked, but I think this one was in there too. I think it was number 10. But okay, so Snow White, Blood Red. Say goodnight, Steve.
All right, Sean. All right, have a good night, everyone. Until next time.
Good night, everybody.
Thank you for listening to the Cabot Cove Confab. If you've enjoyed it, please leave us a favorable review on Apple Podcasts. Also, feel free to reach out to us on Twitter at Cabot Cove Confab or email us at cabotcoveconfab@gmail.com.